Heidi ho, everyone, and welcome to this brand new week of trading. Effectively, the last week of June. I know there are a couple of days in next week, but effectively, this is the last week of June, and that could be an interesting week of trading. As always, there'll be something going on, and we'll see if we can suss it out for you. I'm going to start this morning with a quick look at Forex Factory, I think, just because we can. Let me see if I can bring that up for you. This is Jeff, by the way. Those of you who are in the room for the first time, I'm coming to you live from Tasmania in Australia, and I'll be joined very shortly by me good mate Ash, who's going to come to us live from, what's that place? Brighton in the UK. All right, I'm now trying to give you my screen, which should look a whole lot like that. All right, I'm on today, June the 22nd, and we're looking at what's coming up. A couple of speeches, really, to highlight the events of the day, if that's what you want to call it. I don't see anything there that really grabs me, I've got to say. I had a look for the RBA speech this morning, but just want to say this morning, London time this morning, but just now I couldn't find it anywhere. Maybe I should go in there. I had a look in there, and there you go. I still don't find it. 21st. Yeah, don't know. Don't know where it is. Maybe he didn't actually speak at all. Anyway, I thought that might have been the highlight thus far today and probably for the day. Let's go back and have a look at the rest of the week then. We've, of course, got the Bank of Canada's governor speaking. That'll probably be in the US session, one would suspect. All right, but the whole week looks like this. And look, to be absolutely frank, is a little bit uneventful, I would have to say. Highlights, there'll be an interest rate announcement on the Kiwi, and that happens on Wednesday, bright and early for most of us. We've got manufacturing out of Europe, but really, it kind of ends there, doesn't it? There's not a whole lot more going on, and that's a little bit of a wind down, I suppose. In the financial year, it's kind of just about run its course, hasn't it? At the end of the day, let me now take you to pound US dollar, and we'll set up the breakout trade, which is on another screen, of course, and we'll go to that one there. And now you should be looking at my pound US dollar on the hourly chart. Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, Alan. G'day, Swee. Hi, Sino. Long on Kiwi Swiss, H4. Okay, I'll have a look at that in a tick. If I can find the Kiwi Swiss chart. Kiwi Swissy. Have I got a Kiwi Swissy up here? Maybe I haven't. Kiwi CAD, Kiwi Yen. Okay, let's fix that. Kiwi Swiss. There it is. Okay, that one will do. Kiwi Swiss H4, I am on. Oh yeah, see what you're saying. We've got a few high test bars sitting on that resistance trend line or trade line. And we've got the only issue, of course, is this weekly pivot is holding strong, isn't it? And we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 very bullish bars since the market opened this morning. Interesting. Very interesting. Risky. Gee, it's risky. And we've got 3 seconds. 6 pips. Risk is going to be about 17, so that's okay. Yeah, I think I want to see a pullback first, but yeah, I totally see the setup, and I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to take that yet. I'd prefer to see Although we did get a close on the hourly chart, didn't we? And I was on the hourly chart, not the 4 hour. Sorry, it doesn't look as good now. Let me have a look. Yeah, the close below the weekly pivot is a little bit of a deterrent, I've got to say. I'd much rather see that break and be retested, to be fair. That's for me. I mean, don't let me put you off a trade. I can totally see the setups coming. We've had an approach here and a pullback, approach here and a pullback, approach here. Probably want to see another pullback before I do take the entry. Looks like the market going risk on again. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I'll have a bit to say about that in a tick, but let's go to the pound, back to the pound and set this trade up. And thank you to Kumar, of course, for this wonderful, wonderful tool that he's given me. We've now gone past the appropriate candle, but the parameters are still the same. So your entry level is a buy at 1.2416, which we've got over here. And the stop loss for the buy price is 1.2355. And of course, the reverse is the same. The reverse on that would therefore be a sell at 1.2355, and your stop loss is at 1.2416. What a wonderful tool he's given us. Really, really like that. Okay, so looks like market going risk on from Alan. There's a possible long, done that one. Like the videos. What videos, Alan? The videos. Any view on New Zealand rates on Wednesday? Looks like Aussie and Kiwi want to weaken respective currencies for competitive export rates. Yeah, I'm kind of hearing that from the RBA, and that was a summary. Somebody wrote a summary on the speech that I was trying to find, and I still can't find.
Hi, mate.
Hello, mate. How you doing?
I'm all right. I didn't get a link.
Oh, oh, that'd be me.
I don't know if it is you. I don't know if it is you because everybody that's on my Skype is just not showing that they're online. In fact, the only one that is PH. But yeah, don't know. I thought I'd better double check.
It was my fault. I didn't send it.
Oh, oh well, that's all right then. All right, not such a problem.
But it's just as easy to come in this back road anyway, isn't it? Really?
I think it's probably better actually, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, mate. Pretty good. Interesting market today in some respects. I think interesting just to sort of say that it's wow. I can't see the clarity so far today. I think we're probably headed for a down day, but it might be a bit tricky. I'm just trying to see whether there will be an entry on the FTSE. I'm probably looking at shorts for the day. It looks pretty negative. I'm more interested in individual stocks at this stage. So I'm having a look at some Spanish stocks, actually, some Spanish banks.
Okay.
But yeah, FTSE looks weak. There's just a very, very good setup on one specific bank. And over the weekend, I thought I'd write my own seasonality indicator. So it looks like seasonally this particular stock does pretty badly in June and July as well. So yeah, I thought I'd go really, really into it because obviously the guys in the US show with their Larry Williams stuff, I think is really interesting. So I thought I'd have a look into it, and I've managed to write something which actually checks every single instrument on the planet. It's brilliant.
Holy dog.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gee whiz, I can't keep track of 5 trades, mate. How am I going to do that?
Well, I don't know if there'd be any more than one trade a day, but still, it's something of use. It's just an extra little tool, really. I'm not necessarily going to be able to utilize it very often, but it's just another little tool that I thought I'd try out and see whether actually getting right down to the minutia might improve the probability even further.
Yep, fair enough. I'll look at that with interest. Actually, I just have a look at the pound here. It looks a bit interesting. And I've got no idea why I would want to trade it long, to be fair, but
Yeah,
the
yeah, maybe
setup,
just a bounce back, isn't it?
yeah, the setup's kind of there. Not on that chart, but the hourly, is giving me a double cross on the daily pivot. And that always interests me, of course. Let me see if it's tradable. Do I really want to trade the pound long is the question. No, I don't really see the setup. I can see the setup, but I don't see a tradable scenario for me there. So I'll be giving that one a miss at the moment.
Yeah, honestly, man, I think I really had a good look this morning. I was in a little bit of a little bit on the back foot today because my software decided to play up a little bit straight from the gun, and it's it does make things a little harder, but I don't know. I mean, the FTSE certainly looks heavy here, and I suppose if there's a really clean entry, then I will be taking it. But otherwise, I I don't see that much movement. I think it could be quite a tricky day. And in actual fact, I wonder whether we might be entering a phase where the market does just become a bit rangy, which is going to be obviously good for you. But I think for us to kind of get into trades and hold them is going to be a lot tougher. So I think I'm going to be taking the stance that I will be probably in and out as much as I can. FTSE does look weak. If I get this FTSE trade, I'll let you know. But go on.
All right, you like me would have, of course, jumped up first thing and placed the S&P trade for the third Monday, wouldn't you?
Well, I would have done if it was the third Monday, yes.
Well, it is effectively, apparently, from a trading perspective, because of what do they have, that Memorial Day in the States?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's the third trading Monday. Okay.
Yes. So Shukri's telling me that that's the case, and we did go through this last week as well.
Okay.
So I don't. Do you want to take a look around the grounds of your?
Sure. Yeah.
Indexes?
Let's have a look at it. Let's have a look what we got. Yeah. That's tricky actually, isn't it? I suppose. Oh, I'm gutted. I have missed my entry on my Spanish stock. But yeah, let's have a look around the grounds. Let's see what we got here. Hold on 1 second. Let me get my.
Do they move that fast?
Oh, there's just a gap down this morning. I should have traded it at the end of last week, and
okay.
I was still sort of doing some research on it. But it's not a problem. I mean, what I really want to know at this stage is this a useful way to look at the market for extra probability, and just going on one day it looks really good, but there's still no guarantees. If it comes back at me, then I will trade it. But yeah, there was a setup. The problem is it's another index to watch, it's another setup to have to watch, another area to have to watch, and I just didn't have my eye on it when the really good setup was there. And
I haven't placed my order yet. I'll do that while you're chatting.
Okay, mate. All right. So this is what we got with the foot. So you can see that the pivot should act as a level of resistance. Quite tempted to take a trade in the FTSE, and there's not a lot which would suggest upside at all. But let's just have a look at where it could go. Probably we're aiming for the weekly pivot down here, which is a fair whack down. So let's just have a quick look. It looks pretty good. I'm just going to double check a few things here, just to see if the setup is clean enough. I think that's the slight issue I've got. The setup isn't quite clean enough, but that is a good that is a direction that I want to go in. I'm going to have to pass on it just because on a personal level, I don't feel very settled. But this is decent. There's nothing wrong with this trade at all. Let's just have a look at it on a shorter term time frame. Tiny little higher high and possibly a higher low being carved out here as well. So maybe we just let it develop. I'm not feeling really comfortable entering at this particular stage, this particular time. But I do like it. I think this, we should be looking for downside. Looks like we're in a decent area. We got the daily pivots potentially rejecting where we are. So I'll keep an eye on it. I'll keep an eye on it. If I can enter this one, I will, and it is for a short. But at this stage, it's looking like that short will be under the current price action, the current bar that we've got. Now, is that getting a little dangerous? I don't know. So there is a possible opportunity, but it's just not very clean as yet from what I can gather. It does mean that we're going to have to give up some of the profits if it goes from here. And it doesn't. There's I don't see any reason why this is going to rally. So the obvious move here is for downside. This is not really anything I can see which is suggesting upside. I mean, it's against my my better judgment, but I'm going to have to go down to a minute chart here, mate. I mean, this is very, very irregular for me to have to go down to a chart like this. But let's just see if there's anything here which suggests that we've got. Well, there is.
LT, sure, we can look at euro dollar when Ash has done no drama.
Yeah, you know what? Let's do that instead. Let's have a look at some stuff. Euro dollar really is quite an interesting one in many respects, because with the euro dollar, it should bounce here. It should bounce to the upside. When I looked at this, I thought, well, the bounce is much more likely to create a downtrend than anything else. An opportunity short. But look at the trend line along here. It's right on top of it pretty much. So it should be getting some sort of bounce here. Where it bounces back up to is probably, I would have thought, somewhere maybe in this area, 11250 maybe. It could be that low down there on this belt hold at 11230. But I'd be looking for a bit of upside in euro dollar personally, and then really to get the opportunity to sell it off, though. I wouldn't want to trade this long at this particular stage.
Yeah, same.
There seems to be some issues as well, and maybe this is some of the problem. There's not a whole lot of clarity today on what's going on in the market. I think there's problems with the EU and China, with the EU and China. There's Donald Trump. Obviously, nobody turned up for his rally the other day, and Joe Biden seems to be taking the lead in the United States for popularity.
Yeah, by a
China, yeah, everything, mate. I will look at everything. US, Asian, European commodities. We can check the lot. So if you want to know a seasonal bias on anything, then you just post it in, and I will tell you what it is for the month of June and for the day as well. I've even got a little day one as well to tell you what the probability of that particular stock rallying for the day. The third Monday of the month thing might be a bit of a problem. I've done my days on the fourth Monday of every month. That's what I've done my statistical evidence on. But actually, it sounds to me like I might have made a bit of a mistake there. So maybe I can't rely on that one today.
Well, I don't know. I'm not the architect of the strategy, of course, so I can't really say yay or nay. But all I can say is the only architect of the strategy that I'm aware of is Julian, and he said last Sunday that this would be the third Monday trading wise.
Right. Yeah, I suppose that's fair, isn't it? Did Memorial Day shut everything down though, or just the US? Because I suppose that might be if we're looking at the S&P, makes sense, doesn't it, to maybe not take the S&P into account. But if we're talking about euro yens, if somebody's bringing up here, which I will have a look for you now. Euro yen, euro yen, euro yen. Okay, so I'll just tell you that the statistical evidence for June for euro yen, can't get caught out on any third Monday there. Is euro yen. Where are you?
You guys are still in euro yen, I hope. Should be still in it. I've got my stops at entry at the moment on euro yen, and I'm expecting further falls. I've got 118 in my sights.
Euro yen, there it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, it's about slightly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very, very slightly well, it's about 50-50 for the move in euro yen for June, so not a lot to garner there. And for the well, I'm going on the fourth Monday of the month. Will be euro yen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, very, very slightly bearish. So out of the trading days of the month, it looks like euro yen is slightly weaker today. Slightly weaker, you know, it has a probability of being a bit weaker rather than stronger. So when it comes down to charts, well, yes, it is, mate. Yes, it is. I mean, it's close enough to 50-50 to be possibly problematic, but let's have a look at the chart as well with euro yen. That looks all right, doesn't it? Let's just double check here. FTSE's going to be better here now. Might start giving us a bit more of a message. Euro yen. This is the only problem when you get something new, isn't it? It's just adds to the time it takes to actually analyze from there on in. It suggests at this stage the euro yen. Well, I mean, you see it's above the daily pivot, and actually, you know what I'm kind of looking at with the euro yen. Not sure if this pen's going to work, but what I'll be looking at with the euro yen is just a bit more of a cutback.
That's fine. We've got plenty of space here to play with.
Yeah, it looks a bit rangy. I mean that's the thing, isn't it? If it looks a bit rangy, if these start looking rangy, you can see there's a trend line coming down here. Where is it? Probably along there, and it's got to get through there. But if it does get through there, that would start to suggest that possibly the weekly pivot to be tested. I would have thought that we are looking at if it cuts back, I'd be looking at that as a potential area. So somewhere down here, I'd want it to make sure it can continue. Looks like it might take a little while to establish anyway, but it could create an inverted head and shoulders. So I'd be looking out for that if I was trading this one long. If I was trading it short on a short-term basis, just the trend line looks pretty good, doesn't it? Because it does suggest a coming down. It does suggest that we come down a little bit further on an intraday basis, but yeah, look at these. I mean, these bars on the 15 are suggesting that there's still some fairly aggressive selling going on here. So I would have thought cutting back down on a short-term time frame, maybe to 119.50 is possible. But it looks like if you're not in a longer-term trade, as you guys, some of you guys are, and Jeff is, then I don't know. I don't think the risk to reward is going to be there. And maybe that's the issue. Maybe that's the problem with the FTSE that I'm finding, mate, is that it's not that I don't think it's going to be short today necessarily, but finding the value when I don't think it's going to go very far could be the challenge. So that's why that the market probably needs to establish itself a little bit and give us a bit more upside before we can short it, just to get some value in trading it short. And I'd say it's the same with this one. You know, if you're going to trade this short, there's not a lot of room to come down from what I can see. And it does mean that the stops are going to be quite tight, and I'm not sure if I'd want to do that with euro yen really.
Yeah, as you, I've got another double cross on the daily pivot here, so
okay.
that would tend to think, or from me, to think that may break to the high side. And I think the weekly pivot's probably quite a reasonable target there. I think it's a horizontal level. It's, just a bit above the 120 handle. So I'd be probably looking at that as a possibility, but I don't think I want to be jumping in short right now.
No, doesn't look like that to me. The dollar ruble. Let's have a look at that. There we go. Russian ruble. Let's check it out. Okay, the dollar ruble looks pretty bullish one on trading days. You know what? Interestingly, did the dollar ruble not trade before 2008? Because if that's the case, there's no data back from 2008, so it looks like it started in 2008. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah, but slightly bullish in 2008 anyway. If that's sorry for today's trading day in 2008, but I'll tell you for June as well. We do have July data. What's that?
Begs the question, why are we looking at the Russian ruble?
I don't know.
Why, may I ask? That confounds me.
Do you know, just talking of exotic things to trade, if you like, I'm really starting to get interested in this crypto space. If the banks are going to get broken up here, it would make sense that we should have some exposure to the crypto space. 6. Yeah, it looks pretty good in June as well. So long, that would be a long if you're looking for just the seasonality aspect alone. The dollar versus the ruble has got a high probability of trading to the upside for the rest of the month. Now, looking at this on the monthly, we're already down. Actually, we're already below our open on the monthly with the ruble, and the problem with that is that for seasonality to work out, it just needs to close below its open, so it could stay here and still be relevant. So it might be better for us to look at the ruble in relation to July. In saying that, there probably are some signs and signals that this one could be traded short, maybe even from this particular space. So I'm not sure why you're looking at it, mate. It looks kind of choppy as well. But if you're looking at it and you want the seasonals for July, then we might be better off looking at that closer to the time instead.
Okay, while you're there, I suppose let's have a look at who said that. CAD yen, I think somebody wanted to have a look at. I did see it somewhere. Or am I seeing things? Did you see CAD yen up there? I'm sure I did.
CAD yen.
Oh, there it is.
No,
yeah.
I didn't see.
Sanjay wanted us to have a look at CAD yen. I've got a bounce point on CAD yen, pretty much where we are.
Okay, let's have a look. CAD yen. CAD yen. What we got? Move to the upside. Yeah, so we've had our downward movement in the CAD yen. Is that over is the question. Yeah, it looks CAD yen looks like it might well be getting through this area here. You definitely want it through the pivots, but it looks like it might just have snuck through. In actual fact, that's probably there. Yeah, it's got to get through there, hasn't it? Because there's that trend line there that looks like it could cage it in a little bit, and I think that probably is the area as well. So getting above, so far it's a short on a shorter term timeframes. You've really got to look for the downside potential and the downside opportunity. But it doesn't look too bad. Yeah, for the long, you're looking at the daily pivot. It looks like if it holds the daily pivot, then you could check the long. You could check something out here and see if it goes through. For the short, you look in this area, or maybe still the weekly pivot would still generate a potential short opportunity. But again, the range is getting tight here. And that's going to make it tricky to trade on a longer term basis. I think more information on this one, if you're looking for this one to trade long on a longer term basis, then you probably do want a genuine break to the upside here, and probably taking out this weekly pivot. So if it came back, and if it did something like that and stopped on the weekly pivot, then you could start looking at the long just above.
Agree.
But at this, you agree with that, do you, mate?
Yep. And on the other side, once it did get through the weekly pivot, if it came back underneath that trend line, then you've got a short.
Then you got a short, yeah. The short doesn't look like it's going to offer a great deal of risk to reward unless you trade Jeff's strategy. I suppose. Would you trade that, mate? It doesn't look like there's not a lot there, does there?
What chart are you on there, mate?
This is the hourly.
30-minute chart, maybe. You might get a bit of a reward out of, let's say, a 10, 12 pip risk, 15 pip risk, something like that.
Yeah.
Get your stops above the weekly pivot. But you've got to see the setup first. The setup's not there yet.
No, it's not, is it? And the yen actually is a bit weaker today. I was trading the Noki yen last Friday, and looking at maybe a bit of a picture with oil. And I've closed that out now, and I don't even know where that is anymore. In fact, yeah, that has started to rally, and it does look like the yen is a bit weaker. It looks like risk on is kind of still hanging on in there. Looking at the FTSE 100, that's really kind of illustrating it, that we still have something of a risk on market. But I'm looking at these markets and just going chop. There's just chop all over the place. Anything that goes long at this stage appears to be a decent range bound selling opportunity. So I'm still looking for when the market pushes up to see if there's an opportunity to go short. But it does seem a bit caged in right now. And I don't particularly like these types of markets very much. And I think finding maybe something a bit more specific could be the opportunity. And with the yen, if the stocks and indices are likely to go long, CAD yen would suggest a long. Just on the equation, if you like, of risk on, risk off, it would suggest that the CAD should be risk on, because it would, it's quite heavily connected to the oil market, and the yen is obviously risk off. So if you have a look around at the indices and just see how the indices are performing, then if they're performing well, then the CAD yen will potentially go up. But as I say, I'm looking at this market and just thinking, yeah, it looks a bit choppy today, and I'm not sure really whether I want to get involved in that. I don't see too many things lining up too positively at this particular stage. So I think there's just some clarity's got to come in. Not to say that you won't.
What's already established from a fundamental point of view, and of course Brexit, Trump, oil, all those sorts of things that we're normally looking at, there doesn't seem to be too much is going to change the market this week.
Yeah.
From a point.
Yeah, thank you, Shukri. I think we should have a bit of a chat about crypto. I'm going to speak to my buddy tonight, so we'll see if we can get him into the show tomorrow, and see if he can give us a little bit of a heads up, because I think we do need to hear a bit about crypto, if you're all right with that, Jeff.
Sure, mate. Of course.
Okay, I'll ask him. I'll ask him tonight. We usually have a chat on a Monday, so I'll ask him tonight. I can't guarantee which show he'll be in. It'll be whichever is convenient for him, but I'll see if I can get him along, and we can have a chat about crypto, and he can give us his insights into that. I know he really likes Cardano, and I'll be looking at Cardano as well to see if I can buy something just for a bit of protection. Not a lot, mate. Just a little bit in there, but actually to buy the product. They have, Crystal. They have, and do you know what worries me, Crystal? And then this is really it's not a fear of missing out on the crypto space. My concern is the fear of the whole system breaking. Yes, ADA, Shukri, that's the one. That's the one I'm interested in. So yeah, that's about all I've got, mate. As I say, it's not really a trading situation for me at this particular stage. Just to bring you the Spanish stock I'm interested in shorting, it's a stock called Bank Inter. Bank Inter, and I'm looking at taking a short in those, probably around about the 440 level, 4.40 level. I'm looking at shorting around about there. So if anybody's got the ability to trade other stocks globally, that one is, I think, worth a look for some downside.
Okay, we've got new 30s. You want me to have a look?
Have a look, buddy. Gosh, that's gone quick. Yeah, have a look.
Yeah, time flies, but I'm going to have a look at. Goodness me, my messages are moving. Sorry, I'll go back to where I was. I thought I had another question there that I needed to address. All right, screen 1 is the one we want to look at. I was just having a look at Aussie CAD. That's what somebody wanted me to look at. Aussie CAD. Not there. There. Aussie CAD. Okay. Now here's the thing with Aussie CAD. We've got one. Well, I won't count the 30-minute candles. I'll count the hourly candles. It's just easier. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Potentially 8 of the last 11 candles have been bullish and quite decisive, most of them. The market this morning has moved, or today on Aussie CAD has moved 68 pips already. And yes, I see the double cross on the weekly pivot. But do I want to trade straight into DR1 when we've already moved 68 pips? What's the current? The first question I ask myself there when I see that is, what is the current ATR on this cross? So I'll have a look at that. Average true range. We won't look at it there. We'll look at it on the daily chart because that's what we want to know. Insert indicators, average true range. And let's go back 3 weeks. So let's say June. And there we see that the average true range is 96. So when I take that into consideration, and the fact that we've actually broken short here, mind you, virtue of the gap. So we've got to take that into consideration as well. And we've had 2 very, very strong 4-hour bars, average true range 96, and we've already gone 70 of that, or 68 of that, right? So I've got to put that into my little calculator, then look at what we have from a structural point of view. And here I see DR1, I see a resistance trend line and a possible 28 pips of true range or average daily range, right? So that's going to tell me there's not a lot of reward available here. It's not going to tell me not to trade it, but it's going to tell me there's not a lot of reward on offer here. So where's my risk? My risk has got to be underneath these bars, doesn't it? I would have thought. So that goes stop loss there, entry there. So I've got about 19, let's say 20 pips of stop loss, and I've got 3 pips to DR1, a resistance level, which was last week's weekly pivot. Then I've got another 9 pips to the trend line, another resistance level. And then I've got 1-to-1 at the high of, is it last week? Not quite. So I've got to say there's too much resistance there for me. And on balance, that's one that I wouldn't take. Not saying for 1 second that it can't go. And I do see the setup, definitely. So well spotted. But it's not for me. Not for me. I like to see some reward in the trade. And well, to be absolutely frank, that may well have been the pullback that was required. But I don't know that it is. To be honest, I'd much rather see a significant higher low here before I traded this long. Yes, it's back inside the range, but for all of those reasons that I've just outlined, this trade is not for me. And of course, it can go to here. Nothing says it won't. What it does say, the probability of it going there isn't great at this point. maybe after pullback. That's what I'm looking for. Pound is activated. Okay, let's have a look at that on a buy. Wow, must have been by this, what is it called? Hair of your chinny chin chin. Yes, something like
that. Or the skin of your teeth.
Something like that. I'm trying to mix metaphors. Yeah. That's a terrible entry again. Bang on DR1, bang on this resistance level. And next week, as I say, next week in the US show, we'll be going through all of these beta tests and pulling them to pieces and see if we could have done better in terms of entries and management. That could be interesting. As of next week, next Monday, we start that in the US session. And of course, we'll present you with the results here. We won't be doing an analysis in the show. We'll be doing it in the US session only. Yeah, look, this is, as I said before, showing me that it can go long, and weekly pivots, probably the obvious target here. And then we can start looking for a return to trend, if you like. So yeah, I can totally get it. We might get lucky here and get through the resistance. Who knows? And after all, we do have a double bottom on a smaller time frame, and off the monthly pivot. We've been through the daily pivot. We've got a higher low. Yep, I can see it. Totally get it. So we are in that now. 30-minute candles. We need to have a quick look through on the majors and see what's going on. So euro dollar, as we've discussed, potentially at a bounce point. And where does that take us? Probably weekly pivot, I'm thinking. But once we come off the bottom, what are we looking for? We're looking for higher lows, right? So if we were to see a higher low, maybe we can pick up a trade back to here, at least, with an extension back to the top of the channel. So I'm a short-term bull, euro dollar, but not a long or even medium-term bull. And again, I go back to the dollar index, which is, of course, telling me, I haven't had a look at it today. It's telling me, if I have a look at the weekly, I'll just share that with you. Weekly chart on the dollar index is telling me that we're having a crack at, albeit very slowly, at getting back to our 98 handle, which was this level here, pretty much. I mean, it's a little bit above there, but you can see the confluence. And that's why I think this has got a very strong chance of going back to that area around about 98, 15 to 20, something like that. And once it does, I think we're back in fall mode. Well, certainly I will be. I'll be looking for this to fall. So maybe this week it gets up to there. It hasn't got that far to go. Another 50, 60 pips. And we're there. That would kind of fall into place here, if I'm wrong. Yeah, interesting. That's completely the reverse. So let's see if I'm okay with the weekly pivot bounce, then we may look for the short. But if I'm wrong on the dollar index, then this could well go long. Interesting. We'll have a look at that when the time comes. But at the moment, yeah, 30-minute charts where we're headed, and we're looking for longs, right? So we've got a double bottom on the bottom of our channel. We're looking for a higher low, right? So what candle are we looking for? We're looking for a seller bar, right? But one that gives us hope. Something like that would be good. Something like that would be good. That's getting a bit rugged, but something like that would be good. So I need to see that down here somewhere. So I'm not in the long category at the moment, not looking for a long here, or not looking for an entry here, still looking for a long, but it's got to come back for me now and give me the right candle. Oh, sorry, I'm still on DXY. Yep, so I am. Okay, so back to that, very, very briefly. Candle I'm looking for is something that looks like that. like that, hammerish or spinning topish, as long as it's got a black body and a bit of a low test or a long tail to the downside, then I'm happy to trade it. But it's not there yet for me. How's it looking on the hourly? Same, not there yet. But I don't want a white bar. And the theory is always the same. I don't want to enter near market. I want to enter when the market is in acceleration mode. So that little double cross there on the daily pivot, I like it. But I don't have what I want to see in terms of a higher low. So I'm waiting on that one. Dollar yen. Well, I really want to whack a rectangle around this, but where do you put it? It begins kind of here. But we've gone, ever so shrinkingly, if there's such a word, inside there, that it's kind of weird. I'll show you what I mean. So if we whack that across there and pick our first two equal lows, we're probably looking at this area here, and there's our range. But it's been forever since we've been to the extremes of it, and really we haven't touched the bottom yet. So yeah, on balance, if we got a weekly pivot test, then came back inside and gave us a lower high, I think we'd be looking to trade that short. So at the moment, there's nothing there. In terms of how we get in, if that's not going to give us that, then it needs to give us something like this. Hit there, back underneath, retest, which eventually will give us a lower high, of course, and we could look to trade the false break. That's probably the most likely tradable scenario that I can see at the moment on dollar yen. Aussie dollar, well, what a day it's having. Why? I've got no idea. Probably we had a speech from Governor Lowe, which, as I said before, I haven't been able to find the video of that anywhere, but the Aussie is certainly having a nice old day of it. Again, the double cross here on the pivots, you would be in that trade if you took it, but yeah, it's not for me. It's just not for me. I don't like the fact that we've had a big rally all day long, and no one's saying that can't continue, but what I'm saying is the probability is low that it's going to go much higher before a pullback. Maybe that's the pullback, as I said before, but yeah, I've got to wait now. I've got to wait for something a bit better than that in terms of a pullback. If you're keen on those, there's also a false break here, which is pretty clean, I've got to say. Break, re-entry, retest, everything's going for this except the resistance that we're trading into, and the fact that we've come almost to the point where it's untradeable long for me. So, again, that 60, 70 pips mark is getting to 2/3 of its daily range, and I don't want to be in it. So that's the Aussie. Yes, I can totally see it, but not an entry for me either. What would I prefer to trade today on the Aussie? Well, look, I think the Aussie's tough, to be frank. And the reason I think the Aussie's tough is because of the fundamentals that surround it. I found a friend last night in Ainsley who's of a similar opinion to me. So there's two of us on the planet that think the same. But what I'm thinking, and have been for weeks, is this continual, and it hasn't stopped yet, this continual barrage from China that has now escalated one more time. And we've got the Australian government saying that the Chinese government are launching a cyber attack on Australia. Now, that's the chat. It hasn't been levelled, or the accusation hasn't been levelled, as far as I'm aware, at the Chinese government, but that is the chat around town. So I'm not sure how serious this cyber attack is, but the Prime Minister's been up and talking about it for the last few days, and idle threats, I suppose, is the best way you could call it. And I've got absolutely no idea what he plans to do to back up those threats. He just keeps saying that, okay, we know you're doing it, stop it, or else. What does that mean? I have no idea. And they're my words, not his, but that's the context around what we're seeing in geopolitics at the moment between China and Australia. And, you know, as I say, every day that goes by, there seems to be something more. We've been through the beef tariffs. We've been through the barley tariffs. We've had the warning from Chinese officials for the students not to come to Australia. You know, if they listen to that, then there's billions of dollars tied up in Australian universities from Chinese students. And that, you know, it's got to hurt the Australian dollar at some stage. And I know, well, the chat, if you like, or headlines around what Philip Lowe said this morning, that there's a possibility that they're still looking at more bond buying, so more QE, and not even ruling out an interest rate cut. I haven't seen or heard the speech, but that's what I read. Now, I don't generally trust what I read until I've actually heard it. So that's kind of what's around. So that for that reason, or those reasons, if you like, I've still got to be a little bit bearish, the Aussie. And I don't really know why it's taken off, but it must be the Philip Lowe speech that's given it the takeoff today. Now, getting back to a bit of a longer term thing, if I were to see price maybe hit this trend line that I've just put on my chart and then pull back to the pivots without breaking this trade line, or even just breaking it by a little bit, that does set up a long. I'm just not sure I'm willing to take that. I will see when the time comes, and if that does come, what that candle actually looks like on the 4-hour chart. But I much prefer to be trading the 4-hour chart than I would be the 30-minute chart at the moment. Okay, on to dollar CAD. And I know I'm chewing up a bit of time here, but yeah, these things are in play on the Aussie. So I think, you know, it would be irresponsible of me not to tell you what I'm thinking. Okay, we've got the big breakout that we had, of course, a couple of weeks ago. And now we are having a consolidation, having come back above the weekly pivot, and we're just hanging in or hanging out. I'm not sure which, but certainly there's a range in play here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, last 7 days of trading after that big bounce back has seen us go nowhere. Again, I go back to the dollar index here, measure up the CAD bad news on retail sales on Friday, I think it was. You've probably got to be thinking dollar CAD, sorry, I have probably got to be thinking dollar CAD long. So if I take that on board, what am I looking for here? Well, I'm looking for a breakout of that range, I would imagine. So let's go and have a look at the smaller time frames, where the 4-hour is really showing that range in vivid living color. And if we were to put that in, we'd probably isolate this area. So I'd start with probably equal highs I'm looking for. You wouldn't, well, you could start up there, but you're going to tighten that up once you see this go in. So I'd bring that down to probably the equal lows that I see here and here. So that'll probably do for the range. And going long here is not what I want to do based on that. So it looks more like, to me, we're going back to the bottom than we are to the top. So that disagrees with my analysis from a fundamental point of view. Or not really a fundamental point of view. We've still got the dollar index that we're really hanging on. But the CAD bad news is the other thing, right? So if I'm looking long here, I've already got a setup with a little bar here and a big pullback away from it across the pivots. That's the 4-hour chart. Do I really want to, and I said I want to trade the breakout, right? But breakouts, I'd much prefer to trade from a long distance. So if I'm going long, I want to trade it from here. I don't really want to trade it from here. Can I, is the question. And again, I'll drill down to the smaller time frames to give myself a chance at that. I still don't see anything I like here, except perhaps that scenario. So if we line that up, there's a bit of a horizontal level through there as well. You can see it's been resistance through here. It's been the pivots for a couple of days. We're back down there again. So if we got to there and came back above and retested this area, then I could enter my long. Now it would only be on a 30-minute chart. So yes, I'd still be chasing the breakout, but I'd be taking most of my profit off at the pivots. Oh, sorry, most of my trade or risk off at the pivots, no question, because this is only a 30-minute scenario. This is a short-term trade for me. I'm only looking to take a small amount out of the market. I'm not looking to take a big chunk out of the market. I'm just playing the bounces. That's all I'm playing here. But because I've got a long bias, I would leave something open in case it does break out. And then when it did and came back and gave me a second entry, that's when I would load up on the long. So that's the way I'll be playing that dollar CAD. Dollar Swissy is not dissimilar, except from a fundamental point of view, we've got to now take into account risk on, risk off, because the Swissy is essentially a risk off currency. Again, we've got the range here, and again, we're coming off the top of the range. So essentially I'm looking for a lower high on the smaller time frames. So if we go there straight away and identify our range, again, very, very similar. We're looking for a couple of highs and a couple of lows that are equal, and that'll probably just about do us. Now you can see that we do have that lower high here already. We're too late for that on a 30-minute chart. What's the hourly look like? Looks okay, but again, it's a seller bar, and I don't trade seller bars short. As a general rule, I want to buy a bar here, don't want to sell a bar here. So although I can see it, it is a lower high, and if it were to just turn a little bit white before it closes, that would interest me. Even if it's a doji, I don't care, that's fine, as long as it's not a black bar. Okay, so there it is. Dollar Swissy on the hourly chart may well be a setup if in the next 8 minutes time this candle were to turn white or go doji like. Last one, Kiwi US dollar. Like the Aussie, has broken out to the high side, and again, same scenario. I wouldn't be looking to trade that. That trade line doesn't belong there. Instead, I'd be looking for a pause here in proceedings. Doesn't mean it'll happen. It just means that's what I'll be looking for. If you absolutely technically, you've got a reasonably good setup there by the rally, the pullback, the bounce off the daily pivot, and away she goes. But again, not for me, because the probability factor here of this going much higher than it is now is not good at all. And again, doesn't mean it won't happen, but we're not here, or I'm not here to trade low probability trades, and that's why I wouldn't take that. But looks like it might have been a good one had you found a way in there. Mate, Euro Pound I think is interesting. We'll have a look at that just because it's on the chart. I'm pretty keen to get back into a short here at some stage, but it don't look at this point of the day like, oh, maybe it does. Yeah, it's still good. If we got back underneath here and then retested the weekly pivot, putting in a lower high, that would interest me. And I think that's what I'll be chasing this week. Euro Pound short. It's tough to be thinking pound long, but against the euro, I think it's got a strong chance, primarily if you go to the bigger picture, because of what we're seeing here. We've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried to get above this level, and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed. So maybe it's got some room to move yet before it pulls back again. But yeah, I think this is a potential short at some stage. Just don't know when. I know you liked this long last week. Are you still of that opinion?
Well, the euro pound.
Mm.
Do you know, mate, I'm quite down on the pound generally. I think tipping into debt above GDP ratio again is making the pound a very it's not an attractive prospect on the whole. But I wouldn't necessarily be trading it against the euro. I like what's underneath with the Aussie. I completely agree with you when it comes down to the kind of fundamental aspects that could move it in the short term, but in the longer term, the Aussie's debt to GDP is very, much better, relatively
comparatively
speaking.
Very good. Yeah, I agree.
So a stronger currency, I think, on that front. So I'd be looking more to do with the pound Aussie. I don't think the pound euro is particularly simple. Because they're intertwined with Brexit and everything else, and I'd probably prefer to avoid anything that is Brexit dependent, because a good headline comes out, the pound rallies; a bad one comes out, the pound seems to tank. So I think that if we try and look at things that aren't actually connected to Brexit, then it might be maybe a little safer than trading anything anything else, i.e. the pound euro, the euro pound. Sorry. The other issue with the euro is the China situation as well, and we're also looking at kind of near term stuff with that. There's I think they're meeting today, aren't they, to kind of thrash out a deal, but by all accounts, the European Union doesn't want to be so dependent on China. So there could be a breakdown in trade relations there, and that could send the euro in the opposite direction fairly swiftly, and maybe even significantly. So, there are other sort of like factors. Interesting, isn't it, that they all involve China? The United States and China have got this constant spat going on. The Australians have got this thing with China, and now the European Union, and there's probably no. It didn't take a genius to kind of recognize that this pandemic has kind of forced a lot of these big nations and big blocs hands in relation to their connection with China, but it does seem to be under pressure, and the European Union may well suffer, or the euro may well suffer, is that if there's a significant breakdown in relationship there.
Yeah, the may wells. Unfortunately, that's where we are. It's there's nothing certain at the moment. We're in very uncertain times, and I don't know how long we've been saying that, but it seems forever.
Yeah, it does, mate. Yeah.
Anyway, it is what it is. Sino, yes. In answer to your question, they are the 6 most reliable, in my humble opinion, for sure. Euro, Aussie. Yep, you got it. That's pretty close to the money. Look, I've added a lot, to be fair, but the most consistent are those, because over time they have proven themselves. At the moment, I'm actually free trading a lot of these, not necessarily genuine slingshot setup. So I haven't really got any data that suggests that the extra ones that I've added, which are pretty much anything, unless it's the ruble, for instance, all got massive spreads. Massive spreads don't suit my strategy at all, because I'm only looking to take little bits out of the market on the 30-minute chart anyway. A different story on the 4-hour and the daily, but that's why essentially we chose those 6 pairs, because of pretty small spreads. And even euro yen and pound yen, we didn't trade on the 30-minute charts forever. They were always 4-hour daily only. But yeah, time proven, mate. So that's still the case from a provable data point of view. I'll put it that way.
Pretty quiet as well, isn't it, mate? When you're looking at the data going into the end of the month, I don't see a whole lot out there which would promote much certainty in direction. The data doesn't look like it's going to give us a lot of certainty when you look through it. I've just been looking through Forex Factory, apart from tomorrow with some PMIs from the Eurozone. There's not a lot really for the rest of the month that is likely to move the market on its own.
No, I had a look at the Forex Factory earlier. It's very little indeed. I think it's the end of the financial year, and maybe we've heard all the numbers we're going to hear pretty much, and it's likely to be a quietish week, I would think.
Yeah, and
that doesn't mean there won't be some opportunity. There'll be something there.
Yeah, there'll be something. Yeah, it looks like we're stepping into earnings season as well, so that might be
in
might
particular.
Be something to note.
I am pretty keen on what I'm seeing so far today. I'll be looking for the dollar pairs in particular to pull back this evening. So I may be trading retracements on today's moves, because I don't think they've got that much left in them, frankly. I don't see a real reason why they're actually rallying as hard as they are. And for that reason, I think US session may well be a good opportunity to trade them back. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right on that, mate. Yeah, looks quiet.
Nearly in a trailing stop situation here, another 14 minutes. If this candle on the 15-minute chart is indeed a buyer bar, then we will move our stops up underneath this bar. And that will take most of the risk off the table. And then hopefully we can get up here somewhere. That would be good. That's about it from me, though, I think, for now. I am looking forward to the US session to get some sort of tradability about this. The ones that we spoke about, the double crosses on the pivots, they look to be firing okay. If you've taken them, then you may well be on winners there. But I would strongly counsel that you get something off the table when you hit a resistance level, because, as I say, I'll be looking to trade these back in the opposite direction come US session, I believe. 70s tonight, mate. We enter the 70s. We're into the 70s.
Oh, yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm already doing my research on the 80s to see what I'm going to play next week. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what your playlist is, mate.
Oh, I've gone nuts. I've actually done some editing and put a few of these, because there's some massive bands in the 70s, and trying to pick what we've got 4 days, trying to pick 4 bands and their best tracks, if you like, is almost impossible. So I put together a little medley on the super bands.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, because the Beatles spill into the 70s even, don't
That's right. But you've covered them in the 60s. So we
got Led Zeppelin, you got Pink Floyd, Nick Drake. You've
been watching my playlist, man.
Oh, well, if you got some Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin, I'll be happy.
I do.
I absolutely the question is, will you play my favorite Led Zeppelin tune? We'll see. I think that'll be the big question for me.
Would that be the one that 4,000 musicians worldwide have covered?
Stairway to Heaven? No.
No?
No, it wouldn't be that one. That's not my favorite. Far from it. I'll give you a little clue. It links to Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
It's got a link to Lord of the Rings, yeah.
Right.
That's my favorite Led Zeppelin track.
But I think I've got 3 Led Zeppelins.
In fact, there you go. There's pop quiz for you guys later. Which Led Zeppelin track has a strong link to Lord of the Rings? And you've got for those of you in the US show, you've got until the US show. Those of you in the UK show, you got until tomorrow to tell us. Jonathan, Chicago Mercantile Report, they're into Bitcoin. Of course they are, because you trade Bitcoin in CME. Misty Mountain Hop. No, not Misty Mountain Hop, Jonathan. No. No. Not that one. Not that one. Yeah, we'll cover that later, mate. Otherwise we could be here a while.
Yes, we could. Indeed we could. And I've got nothing more to add at this point. I don't know if you have.
No, nothing from the Lion King. Actually, you know what? I do really like Kashmir as well. Which is that might be the other one on my list, actually, of my top Led Zeppelin tracks. I do like Kashmir.
We're starting tonight with a pop group,
Okay. Bit of pop.
which were probably the biggest band in the 70s, certainly in Australia, which is
Oh.
interesting.
Oh, the Bee Gees. All right. We're going there, are we? Straight in with the Bee Gees.
Haven't even done the Bee Gees yet.
That's the thing. It did. I mean, you got of course, you got kind of like things like the Buzzcocks as well, and the Sex Pistols, because there was quite a range of styles, wasn't there, in the 70s?
Absolutely. But yeah, I won't be going there. I can give you that big tip now. I
mean, I fully respect the writing, mate, and there's a time and a place, but I'm hoping that you're not going to play any ABBA.
Oh well, look, how could we? How
You are going to play ABBA.
How could we possibly play ABBA?
Yeah, there's loads that then went on in the 70s. Yeah, this is going to be kind of interesting. You got disco, you've got punk, rock. You know, there's lots of styles to cover in the 70s.
Oh, sorry, mate.
I mean, yeah, knowing you is probably going to be some sort of romantic country song.
Yeah. You'll laugh. You'll be laughing.
Something about a cowboy that spilt his water when he was drinking out of the horse's trough. And
oh yeah, that's good. Or face the barren waste without the taste of water. Cool.
Oh, there you go. See,
yeah,
there you go. And some beautiful Spanish maiden came over and happens to drop her flower in the water, and all of a sudden it starts to grow again, and they fall in love. Something like that, I think.
No, we played that last week. It was the seashores of old Mexico.
So Lewis, I'm hoping there's going to be some setups in the US Open. Yeah, why not? Why not? We have an exciting week in trading. Yeah, exactly. Me too. We shouldn't really get off tack, but there's sometimes you kind of just need to get through when the. I mean, it's not like the trade. It's not like the market's like watching paint dry. That they are moving, but they're all kind of. I don't know, big concerning. I like the Aussie Swissy for some upside. That was what I was checking out before I came on air, but that one may well.
So you are going risk on if you trade.
Well, do you know, mate? I'm risk on in a very very short term time frame. I don't believe that we are going to get out of a range. If I'm truthful, I think that we're going to get caught in a range for a few weeks. So I think trading the top of the range and the bottom of the range is the way that I'm going to play it, which means I'm going to switch to short-term time frames for a while and take profit early.
Playing my game, mate. Awesome.
Yes, yeah. I think that's the sensible thing to do right now.
Okay, so Jonathan, here's how this works, mate. When we enter, we cancel the opposite, right? So we've entered long, and we have to cancel the short, which I haven't done yet. I've got to say. Thanks for reminding me. Close. No, I don't want to close the buy. I thought I could click on that. That'll allow me to do so. No. Okay. I'll fix it in a minute. So once you've done that, you then look for 2 buyer bars if we're going long, right? And as soon as you see 2 buyer bars after entry, so that doesn't count. That's the one that took us in on the 15-minute chart. So we switch to the 15-minute chart from the hourly as soon as we're taken in, and we don't count that one. But this is number 1. And if this closes in 7 minutes as a buyer bar or a white-bodied candle, then that will be number 2. At that point, we move our stops underneath the first of the 2 buyer bars, and so on and so forth. So if you get another buyer bar after this one, you move the stop loss to underneath there. You get a pullback, black bar, then you don't do anything. You get another 2 buyer bars going up here, you shift and keep trailing your stop like that. Okay, hope that makes sense. There you go. Helen's entered the competition for tomorrow. We'll release that tomorrow. The answer to that question. Very quickly, let me have a look here as the hourly candles have, of course, closed. Euro dollar looks bullish, doesn't it? And probably that weekly pivot is definitely in play. The dollar yen. Yeah, look, again, nothing fits my criteria here. I'm looking for a long, but I'm not going to trade into the weekly pivot. and that bar doesn't really entice me, but I do see a series of these now. High test, high test, high test, high test. These are what I call shots over the bow. Yes, you can use the trade manager to do that. Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing, basically. The trade manager trailing 2 bars is exactly as I've just described, but you've got to do it on a 15-minute chart, right? So, yeah, look, I don't want to trade long from here is what I'm saying, but I'd love to see price get down to here and then give us a false break, hit the bottom, back above here, retest it, then I can go long. And I've got then plenty of room to take profit before the top of the range and the weekly pivot, and let a little bit fly. So leave something open in case we do go, bursting through here. Not a great chart, got to say. Anyway, it is what it is. And the Aussie, I mean, I've been through that ad nauseum. You know what I think. And impossible for me to go long here, but the setup was there earlier. There's no question as a false break, but not for me. Dollar CAD has hit that support trade line. So that's what we want to see. I'd want to be, and I've got to be thinking long dollar CAD at the moment, but again, I'm in a terrible place to trade long unless we come down to here somewhere, then get back above the line, then retest it. But I suspect if we do go to the bottom here, we'll get a far better entry than up here. There's nothing there yet. Dollar Swissy in exactly the same category. Kiwi, exactly the same as the Aussie dollar. I just can't go long here. I've got to wait for a decent pullback and a higher low. And the good old pound, we know about that one. So 3 minutes to go. And if it is a buyer bar or a white bar, green if you're using greens, then move your stop up to that one, underneath that one. All right, I'm done. How you going, Ash?
Yeah, I'm done too, mate. I'm done too. FTSE has climbed quite nicely to the upside. I'm going to wait for a sign and signal that is at the top of the range, and I'll be trading that short when I can on a short-term basis, as I say. Aside from that, but yeah, I'm done as well. That's not the right answer, Helen. There's a. I mean, maybe they do refer to it in those songs. I don't know, but not the one I'm thinking of. There's another. But yeah, I'm done, mate. Let's come back later on for the US session. See if we've got some trading opportunities there. I think there will be short term, but
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Everything's cruising in that direction for me.
Yeah, cool. Okay, mate. That sounds good. All right, guys, we will be back same trade time. Oh gosh, is there a trade in the FTSE?
Yeah. Oh, how many Lord of the Rings were there? Only 3?
There were only 3, yeah.
What's that, about 10 hours? Helen, you should be able to do that for tomorrow.
Let me just double check this FTSE because there might well be a short on now. There is a short on now. It's just a question of do we take it?
You want to show us?
Yeah, let's have a look through it together and see what you guys think.
Yeah, Shukri tomorrow night for the July 4th update. Yep, absolutely.
Let's just have a look what we think here. There's a little trend line there, and it looks like we got some resistance points up here. The question is that break there. Does it actually need to push up here first? And it might do. It might need to push all the way up. It looks like a level across here. But I'm just looking at this 5-minute chart and just seeing just this weakness potentially step in here. but there is an area of support here on the hourly that might just hold this up. Coming under that, and there's also a little trend line along here, which I think is there. So coming under this line, there might well that is probably the opportunity that we should focus on, rather than before it. So breaking the 62.70 and retesting it, then we can look at the daily pivot, but probably beyond, because the range looks to me like it is between this, these 2 points here. So it's quite a wide range really. Which does give us a little bit of room. Maybe we should use this this low here. So 61.78. So there's potentially 100 pips still that could be taken here. But we probably got to get through this point here, which is not the worst thing in the world. So I think I'll wait on this one, mate. But I am interested in the short up here. I'm just looking, and really all I'm doing is looking to see whether there's a lower high on the 5 that I can trust. And I can't trust this one because you got the hourly, which has created a higher high, and potentially this area is the higher low. So what we really want is some leveling off. This area would be okay, but we're still kind of in between, potentially anyway. We're still potentially in between some areas here. There could be this. Let's wait for the top line. Let's see if it touches that top line. If it gets to 6,300, then we can I'll have a bit more confidence with a short. But otherwise, a break below this this 67, sorry, the 62.70, a break below that would probably promote me into a short. Yeah, it's still long right now. It's still, that really the trade is still to the upside at this particular stage. So if there's a long, the long doesn't look like it's got much to travel. Looks like it's probably up here. If we were to take this on a 5, 14, yeah, there's a 2-to-1 to the top. So yeah, we're waiting for that. I think that's the sensible thing to do, mate. We'll look for the long until we get to 6,300, 63.10, and we'll look for the short under 62.70. But it's not too easy.
Right, mate. Then let's leave it there. You guys have got the plan. Ash's plan, and my plan is to wait for the US session and try and catch these retracements on these moves today.
Yeah,
particularly on the dollar crosses.
Yeah,
so guys, thanks for your company once again, and into a brand new week already. Not a lot of anticipation for the week ahead, I've got to say, but oftentimes they're the best trading weeks. You just never know what might turn up.
Oh yeah, fantastic! Thank you, Shukri, as well. We'll get a July the 4th update. We know the market does tend to rally in that, but Shukri might have a bit more detail on that. So yeah, dig it out for us, mate, and we'll talk about that later.
Right, mate. I'll see you a little bit later, and those of you who join the US session, we'll see you then. The rest of you have a great rest of Monday, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Yep. See you tomorrow, guys. Same show time, same show channel at 5 to 8.
That's a date. Don't be late.